Hola, ¿qué tal? Soy Matías Rebolledo y estamos aquí en la 58a edició del Festival de Cine Fantàstic de Cataluña, el Festival de Sitges. Tenía muchísimas ganas de venir este año. Estamos en este set audiovisual patrocinado por Repsol y con la colaboración de ESCAC de Kinótico. Como siempre ya sabéis, os vamos a traer todo lo que de sí la temporada de festivales. Hoy recibimos con toda la energía a una persona que es actriz, productora. She's everything. She's an actress, she's a producer, she's everything for horror fans even. So, Miss Barbara Crampton, how are you doing today?
Oh, thank you, Matthias. Such a nice explanation of me. Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
I already told you it's such an honor to have you here. And we were talking about that. It's not your first Sitges, not just first rodeo here in Sitges.
No, the first time I was here was it was a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and then I came another time after that, and then this is my next time. We had the pandemic, of course, as everyone knows, and then last year I did have a movie here, Suitable Flesh, but I couldn't come because we had the actors strike
Oh,
in Los Angeles. So I wasn't able to travel, even though I produced that movie. I was also an actress in it, but they wouldn't let us go anywhere. So it's just been one mishap after another in trying to get back here. But finally, this year, for the 40th of Re-Animator and another movie I'm in, Every Heavy Thing, I was able to return. So happy to be here.
we'll talk about Re-Animated, but I wanted to ask you about something that's going to happen this afternoon when
Yeah.
you are with Nancy Loomis in a round table. Um, I wanted to ask you about the role of women in horror because you've been always there, but you've never, or at least for the recent times, been valued as something, and the most important thing maybe in horror. So I wanted to argue about your point of view about that.
I haven't been valued?
No,
You mean?
but
What do you mean by that?
by the industry,
Yes.
women.
Well, I I honestly think in the 80s there's two ways to look at it.
Okay.
Maybe more men were in control of the movies, directing and writing and things like that, and producing and being behind the scenes. But at the same time, in films, you can't have an antagonist without a final girl. You can't do it. It just doesn't work. And so women have been at the forefront of a lot of movies in the 80s as characters. I mean, you look at my characters in Re-Animator and From Beyond, and you look at um, people, like Sigourney Weaver in Alien, and then you look at Heather Langenkamp in Nightmare on Elm Street. You can't have a Freddy Krueger without Heather Langenkamp. I mean, it just doesn't really work. So I think in the 80s, when I was growing up in the business, you were able in horror films, more than kind of any other genre, to have amazing parts where women were fighting back against an antagonist. So in that case, I think that women are so important to the genre. It's only been, I'd say, recently that you've seen more women as directors and writers. And now, I decided when I came back from taking a break to raise my family, I came back with a movie called You're Next. And when I came back with that movie, I looked around and I went, oh, there's more people in the industry doing a lot of different jobs. So it wasn't just women being actresses or whatever. There was more screenwriters and more directors and producers. And I thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it. So that's when I sort of reinvested myself in my career. And I thought I could get a couple of movies produced. And so I did. Um, and that's been amazing. And I'm still trying to get things off the ground. It's been a hard time in the industry over the last few years, but I think women have more of a voice in the industry now more than ever.
Um, Let me take you back to 1985. How was your very first day on set of Reanimator? How was that?
I mean, listen, when we did Re-Animator, there was a few things that were very specific to that film that maybe your audience doesn't know. That was the first movie that Stuart Gordon directed, although he had been a theater director and had run the Organic Theater Company in Chicago. But it was also one of our first movies, myself and Bruce and Jeff. And we rehearsed that movie for 3 weeks in my living room because I had the biggest living room at the time. And so Stuart, being a director from the theater, wanted to rehearse the movie. And I thought when I got to Hollywood, oh, this is what people do. They rehearse films. Well, no, I've never had that since. But I think that's one of the things that makes the movie as good as it is, because we were really locked into our roles and really had more of a shorthand with one another. And we were able to be kind of free because we had rehearsed so much and we had studied the parts and we were all locked in with one another. So I think, that's one thing that's really special about the film that a lot of people don't know. Also, Mac Alberg was our director of photography on that film, and he really helped Stuart a lot to craft the visuals for the movie, which, there's some crazy things that happen in this film. I was watching it the other day. We had a screening in Los Angeles of the new 4K that has come out. And people in the audience, you would have thought we were at the Rocky Horror Picture Show, because people were talking back to the screen and really, yelling and screaming during the film. It was kind of amazing. The movie still holds up today. It's quite shocking, even today, 40 years later. And I'm part of some of the most notorious scenes in horror history, so I have that to thank everyone for. But we shot the movie, I think, in something like 18 days. And normally on a set, you'll have, a 10-hour day, except Stuart Gordon would never stop filming. So he would want another take, another take, another chance. And most times on every day, we didn't stop after 10 hours. We were 13 hours, 14 hours, 15, 16-hour days. It was exhausting. It was an exhausting shoot. But Stuart would never stop filming because he wanted more footage. So we had a lot to choose from when that movie was edited. And I don't think a lot of filmmakers, because it's so expensive to shoot a movie, have that opportunity. And so that's another reason that I think the movie is as good as it is because we had a lot of footage and they were only able to choose the best footage from every day.
I'm thinking about the iconic value of the film. I'm thinking about the needle, for example. It's quite unique. But why do you think that the movie has this appeal to stay relevant, to grow on fans alongside the years for 40 years?
I would go back to say it's the shock element. I mean, that was Stuart Gordon once did a rendition of Peter Pan in the theater, and everyone in Peter Pan was naked. And I think he did that when he was in school before he had the Organic Theater Company. He got thrown out of school for that. He got suspended from school. His whole thing was wanting to shock people. So I think that's why it holds up. But the other reason is that there is a basis and a foundation in relationships in the film. Like, I have a love relationship with Dan Kane. And the two guys, Herbert West and Dan Kane, have a very solid friendship relationship. And so even though I say there's a lot of shock value in the movie, I also think that it's grounded in something that's very personal and very real. The relationships are very real, and it's kind of a tragic story. So I think there's both. And I think you have to have both to have an audience remember a movie and have it last over time. You've got to have some relationships that are grounded in reality, and I think we have that in Re-Animator. I mean, it was very sad for me. And, and for Dan Kane's character to lose one another. And also for me, to have died in the movie. It's very tragic.
Please stay with me. I have one very last question, but I have to say that vamos ya con la última pregunta, pero os recordamos que las energías de Repsol mueven el Festival de Sitges. Por segundo año, Repsol está presente no solo aportando sus soluciones energéticas, sino ofreciendo distintas experiencias para que el público lo pase de miedo. I'm saying that Repsol is helping here people to get frightened, to get to get the chills here in Sitges. So I wanted to ask you, what was your very first horror memory, your very first horror movie that you watched and you felt like, oh wow, I'm into this?
I think the very first horror movie I ever watched was Eyes Without a Face. Do you know that movie?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I might have been 8 or 9 watching that film. It was on TV. It's a movie from the 50s. Or is it from the 40s? I don't recall.
It's 46 or 47.
46, yeah, something like that. So you know that movie, yeah.
Yeah.
You're a fan of the genre. Yes. And it's about this doctor who has a daughter, and I forget why she didn't have a face, but he was luring women into his lab and then taking their skin off their faces and putting it on his daughter's face because she didn't have a face.
Yeah.
That movie had a really big impact on me and really, really frightened me and scared me. I don't know what it is about the horror genre, but there's something, it just wakes you up. You know, it wakes you up to life and to something visual or mental or emotional that it really affects you. And that movie really did that for me. And it stayed with me, you know. There's something about horror movies that make you look at fear and look at death and look at things right in the face and face it. Funny, Eyes Without a Face, so it makes you face it. And then it turns you back inside yourself to look inside yourself and see, you know, the depth of your own fears. And you know, what are we doing ever since we're born? We're dying, you know, we're getting closer and closer to death. So it makes you look at your own immortality. So I think that was the first glimpse I had into horror films was around that age.
Well, Barbara Crampton, that's our time for today. I would listen to you for 6-7 hours. Okay. Thank you so much for being here.
I think you have other people to talk to. Yes, so I'll leave you. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much. Nosotros vamos a seguir aquí en la 58ª edición del Festival de Sitges, aquí en Kinótico, en este set patrocinado por Repsol y con la colaboración de la ESCAC. Y ya sabéis todo lo que ocurre en Kinótico, la primera con K, la segunda con C, kinótico.es.